that okay? Okay. Hello and good morning, all. Welcome to KUTV Elimu Live. My name is Zipporah Gitimu. I am a teacher at a school called Karatina Urban Primary School that is in Nyeri County, Mathira East Sub-County. I am a teacher of English in that school. This morning, welcome to an English lesson that will be very interesting. I am going to take you through composition writing skills. And before we start the lesson, I want to remind you that we are at a time where we have COVID-19 pandemic. You can see that I have my mask on. I've come to KU and I had to have my mask on. This is one of the ways to prevent myself from COVID-19. So I also want to request you, as you go out of your house, always have your mask on. Wash your hands regularly and always sanitize. But now that I'm in the lesson, I am not going to use the mask. So allow me to remove it. Yes, I have removed my mask and it is there. So welcome to the lesson. Our numbers all are on your screen, so you can ask any question that you would like to. So I am going to take you through composition writing skills. Yes, welcome. Now, there's something that we know in the English paper. We have two papers. We have grammar and we have composition. The composition is compulsory in English examinations at school. The composition paper comprises of over 40% of your English marks in your KCPE, my dear candidates. And this lesson will not only fit the candidates, it can also fit pupils or learners in class 6, 7, and 8, because we do this in our classes and also in our tests. What is the aim of testing English composition in primary schools? The aim is to test your ability to communicate in writing. Yes, you can communicate in spoken English, but now we want to test whether you can say something in writing. Note that other than writing compositions for examinations, we also have other purposes of writing. For example, we can write to pass a message to someone. For example, the way you write a letter, you can write an email, you can even write a text message to someone. That is one purpose of writing. Another one, you can write when you want to tell someone to do something. For example, when we write instructions for someone to follow. Like, for example, in class 5, you learned how to write a recipe. I hope you remember that. There was some instructions that were given to you so that you can follow for cooking something. That is what is called a recipe. You can also write to keep a record of what has happened For example, when we write records of minutes in a meeting, this one is normally taught in class 7. We can also write stories, short stories, for people to read for fun. We can also put them together, and we can also publish our own books. I hope you have ever thought of that. Writing short stories, bringing them together into a book, and publishing them. So those are the other reasons why we write. And for this lesson, I am going to dwell on compositions for exam situations. In the primary school syllabus, there are given areas where we are supposed to write. We can write letters. Remember, we have two types of letters. We have the formal and informal letter. We can also write a speech. We can also be told to write minutes. Yes, we can also be told to write a pictorial composition or a picture story. Where you are given a set of pictures and you are told to write a story from the pictures given. We can also be asked to fill in forms. These are just examples. We can also be told to write guided or directed compositions. Please note, these are not the only ones. We have others, but I've decided to give these as examples. Now, in the primary school KCPE examinations, most of the compositions are guided or directed. These ones. So today, that is what I want us to talk about. I have watched a lesson on speech. Yes, and today I will guide you on how to write a guided or a directed composition. Why do we call them guided or directed compositions? They are guided in that you are given a set of words to begin a story, or you are given words, that is adding words to make a story. So, in these compositions, you are supposed to write a story from what you are given, either started or an adding composition, and you are told to make it as interesting as possible. One of the aspects that is very tricky in writing guided or directed compositions is time management. So I am going to discuss time management in the guided or directed compositions. Please note that these two words mean almost the same. The guided or directed composition, and I've said it is directed because you have been told what to write about. So most of our candidates, or most of us, have this problem of time management. So many times you write a composition, you remember you are given 40 minutes, and maybe by the end of the 40 minutes, you have not finished your composition. I want to guide you on how you can manage your time during the period of 40 minutes. You have been given 40 minutes to do that. So what will you do? When you get your piece of paper, this is what I want you to do. The first 3 minutes, in the first 3 minutes, this is what you are supposed to do. 1, read the instructions. Remember, the instructions are always there. The instructions are always there. Below is the beginning of a composition. Complete it in your own words, making it as interesting as possible. That is the first thing you do. Read the instructions carefully so that you know what you are supposed to do. So the first thing is to read instructions. Yes, read the instructions. Number 2, in the first 3 minutes, read and understand the lines or the paragraph that is given. The lines of the paragraphs that are given, sometimes we call them the rubric. Yes, read the guiding sentences carefully. Not just read, make sure you read them carefully. The other thing, and I'm going to discuss it later, is underline the key words. Underline the keywords. I'll talk about keywords in the next few minutes to come. Still, in the first 3 minutes, remember you are doing this very fast. Try to think what you are required to write about. After you read the instructions, read the guiding sentences, underline the keywords, take your time, try to think what you are required to write about. After trying to think what to write about, then decide on the story that you are going to write. Remember, you are doing this very fast in the first 3 minutes. Read the instructions, read the guiding sentences, underline the keywords. I am going to explain this later. Try to think what to write about and decide on the story that you are going to write about. After doing that, you now have the story. In the next 2 minutes, you are going to write the guidelines of your story. That is what we call the outline or the plan. Write the plan. And we write the plan in points. I'll also talk about it. Write it at the bottom section of the last page of your writing material. You have the A4. This is just an example. So this is where you are going to write your plan. Then you are going to draw a line. You cross the plan. The other thing that you are going to do, you will go through the points to check if your story makes sense. Go through the plan, go through the points, go through the guidelines to check if the story actually makes sense. So you're going to read through your points in the next 2 minutes. From there now, you are going to do the actual writing. You are now going to do the actual writing in the next 30 minutes. In your next 30 minutes, write the composition. As you write the composition, make it at least 2 pages of the writing material that has been provided to you. That is the A4 page. 30 minutes. You have 5 more minutes remaining. What are you going to do? In the next 5 minutes, you are going to read through your work. Read through your composition. As you go through your work, what are you trying to check? 1, you are going to correct any errors that you might have made as you are writing, like errors of spelling, errors of tenses, errors of punctuation, and even errors of sentence construction. Remember that the last 5 minutes are very important. This is what we call proofreading. Proofread your work. Yes, this one we can also call it proofread. Proofread your work. So you are going to correct, as you proofread your work, you are going to correct the errors that you might have made as you wrote the composition. So we give examples of these errors. We have talked of errors of spelling, errors of tenses, wrong tenses that you could have made, errors of punctuation, or even errors of sentence construction. All right? I hope we are together. So now, this is how we manage our time in the composition. So just to go through, we have said in the first 3 minutes, read instructions, read and understand the given lines or the paragraphs, underline the keywords, then try to think what you are going to write about, decide on the story you are going to write about. In the next 2 minutes, write your plan or the guidelines that you are going to follow in your story, and remember where you are going to do that. at the bottom section of the last page. Then you'll go through the points to check if your story makes sense. In the next 30 minutes, do the actual writing. And we have said you make it at least 2 pages of your writing material. Then in the last 5 minutes, read through your work, or rather proofread your work, and also correct any error that you may notice. And we have given the examples of errors, that is, errors of spelling, wrong tenses, punctuation, and sentence construction. And with that, you won't have challenges with time management during your writing. You will simply and happily hand in your script, and you'll feel comfortable that you have done the best. Hope you are together. For any question, the numbers are on your screen. You can type your question. We shall get it and we shall answer you. Now we go to the actual writing of the composition. I am now here in the last 30 minutes of your writing. Now this one, I'm going to call it what examiners look for. Remember I said for this lesson, we are going to talk about writing compositions for examination. What do examiners look for? What do they want your composition to have? So I'm going to call this what examiners look for. Yes? What examiners look for. What do the examiners want in your composition? How do they want it to look like for you to score high marks? Remember, the aim here is to be able to score high marks in this paper so that you can also raise your English marks in total. One, the examiners look for your ability to communicate well. Are you able to communicate well in written English? That is what examiners will ask themselves when they get your paper. This means the way you express what you want to say. Are you able to communicate? Are you able to tell the story? Are you able to express yourself in writing? When the examiners find out that you are able to tell the story, the next question they will ask themselves will be, 1, are you able to tell your story in a relevant way? So they will look for something called relevancy. I am going to explain this. Is your story relevant? Were you able to tell your story imaginatively? Did you imagine? So I'm going to call this imagination. Did you use your imagination well? Another thing they are going to check or to look for in your composition. Were you fluent? Were you able to tell your story in a fluent way? So I'll call this fluency. They will also ask themselves the other question. Were you accurate as you told your story? So they will ask themselves, did you check something that is called accuracy? These are the 4 skills that they are going to check in your composition: relevancy, imagination, fluency, and accuracy. We are going to discuss each of them. And I'll start with imagination. This is something that I want you to think about in your composition. What is imagination? When we said that as you tell your story, you must be imaginative, what exactly do we mean? We are saying that imagination is the ability to create in simpler language, we can say, are you able to make? So the ability to create, the ability to compose. Remember, the word composition comes from the verb to compose. And after that, are you able to write? So there are those 3 words in imagination: your ability to create, compose, and write. What type of a story? An original story. So the examiner will look at the originality of your story. Is your story original, or your story is copied? Did you rehearse it from somewhere? Some of us read stories from books that have been written by other people. We even read stories from other places, and we bring them into our compositions. Remember, that one will not be termed as an original story. So as we look at your imagination, this is what we want you to do. You are supposed to be original. You are supposed to create your own, you are supposed to create your own characters. You are supposed to come up with your own characters. In some of the guided compositions, characters could be given. For example, let's take this composition, this guided composition. Let me just write it here. I had eagerly waited for this day. Below is the beginning of a composition. Complete it in your own words, making it as interesting as possible. Remember, we are talking about your ability to be imaginative in this composition. And imagination, we have said, it is the ability to create, compose, and write an original story from the given or the guided words. I have said, imagination is ability to create your own characters. Characters are the people that will be involved in that stories. Here we have a character, I. I had eagerly waited for the day. I woke up excitedly. So I is the first character. You can develop this story to have many other characters of your own. Another thing, apart from characters, you can also create your own settings. Settings mean places. Have your own places. Have your own time. Also, have your own emotions. Each and every story has its own emotions. Some emotions are given. For example, in this composition, I had eagerly. This is you had longed for the day. You had anticipated for this day. I had waited for the day. I woke up excitedly. Already the emotions are given. In some of the compositions, you can create your own emotions. You create your own characters. Let your composition not have only one character. Add others so that to develop your story. Set your own places, set your own time, and have emotions. You can have mixed emotions or feelings. This day does not have to end excitedly. You can make your composition have a new twist. There could be other emotions, like maybe this day did not end as excitedly as you thought. Maybe there were things that happened. You anticipated for a very good day, and that's why you had waited for it eagerly, with excitement. But again, this day could end. It could have a third ending. So your ability to create these emotions, the characters, the settings, the places, gives you imagination. You will earn high marks for that. Note this. If you cannot imagine, you cannot write. For you to write, you must be imaginative. I want to give you tips on how you can be imaginative. Let me give you tips of growing or developing your imagination. Maybe you are asking now, teacher is telling us to be imaginative. How do we do this? Step 1. Step 1 of developing your imagination is understand the topic of the story. Understand the topic. Each and every story has got its own topic. Understand the topic of the given story. For example, this one, I had eagerly waited for the day. I woke up excitedly. One thing I want you to note is that in the guided or directed compositions, some compositions are open, others have closed topics. A composition can have open or closed topics. What do I mean by this? Some of the compositions are open. It has been opened up for you. You can write anything. For example, look at this one. I had eagerly waited for the day. I woke up excitedly. This is an example of an open topic. You can choose. It could be anything. Could be a wedding, Could be an adventure story, could be maybe a trip. All these things that excite you, either at home, at school, or even elsewhere. So some of the compositions have closed topics, others have open. This is one that is open. Listen to this one. I had eagerly waited for this day. At last, I was going to join the national school of my choice. This one is closed. Let me read it again for you. I had eagerly waited for this day. At last, I was going to join the national school of my choice. This one is closed in that you have been told what to do. This day has actually been given. What was this day? It was the day I was going to join a national school. But for this one, it is open. If you have any question, please type on the numbers, send to the numbers on the screen. The open compositions give you freedom. They give you freedom to write about anything depending on what you are given, and making sure that you are not going to be out of the topic given. I will discuss that in the relevance. So when you understand the topic of the story, you are going to be specific on what you are going to write. So now you start trying to be imaginative once you understand the topic that you are told to write about, either open or closed. So step one of being imaginative is understanding the topic of the story. Number two, after you understand the topic of the story, step two, you are going to create a storyline. What is a storyline? And I can also call it plot. You are going to come up with your storyline or your plot. What is plot? A plot is the series of events in the story. A series of events in the story. What are these events in your story? I had eagerly waited for the day. I woke up excitedly. So I could decide, I'm talking about a wedding. Maybe my aunt's wedding, my mother's best friend's wedding. So that is my plot. Create a plot. Don't start writing until you create your storyline. Another advice I would give to our learners: create a topic that you can easily handle. A topic that you can easily write on. Don't choose a topic that is too complicated for you to write. And don't give a topic, or don't write on a topic that you have heard about. Maybe you have heard about space and robots and even traveling on air, and maybe you have never done it. So sometimes it becomes too complicated for you to write. So choose a topic that you can easily handle, very easily. The events will flow, the ideas will flow from this one to the next. Now, I want to talk about getting a plot. How do you develop interesting storylines? Sometimes you may think of a topic. Yes, you have the topic. But now, how am I going to develop my story? How do I develop ideas for my story? I may write a paragraph and in the second paragraph, my ideas are all gone. They have all evaporated from my mind. So what am I going to do? Do I stop? Imagine it is KCPE. And there I am. I have nothing to write about. So I want to give you tips on how you can come up with an interesting storyline or plot. How do we do this? How can you get good story ideas to connect to the story that you have been given? One way that you can do that is by remembering a story that you have read. Maybe you read a story about a trip to Mombasa, those who have never gone there, a tour to the museum, you have read it somewhere, or maybe a wedding ceremony that someone attended. It was, the wedding was eagerly waited for. You read about it somewhere. But now remember, we are still being original. We are still being original. Even as we write a story that we read from a certain book, from a novel, from a magazine, from a newspaper, or even from blogs. Remember, we still have to be original, even as we remember that story that we had read somewhere. And how do you that? How do you do that? You only change the characters, you change the feelings, you change the settings, you even change the time, so that your story will look original and it will look unique. It will be one of your own. So that is one way that you can get a storyline or a plot from a story that you have read. You can get, let me repeat that, you can get a storyline or an idea of a story from a story that you have read from either a storybook, a novel, a magazine, a newspaper, or even from a blog or anywhere else. Remember, if you cannot read, you cannot write. Good writers are always good readers. You always write what you can read. So for you to be a good composition writer, or rather a good story writer, please be a good and passionate reader. And from the stories that you have come across, that you have read from places, you are able to bring them into a story that you have been given to continue or even to end. So that is one way. Another way that you can improve your imagination is writing a story that you have listened to. Yes, from a story that you have listened to. Maybe someone was giving his own experience and you listened to that. There is a way that you can relate it to the topic. Remember, this is just an example. There are many others. So, you can also write a story from something that you have listened to. You can even listen to a radio, to a radio program, and from there you come up with a story. You can listen to even people speaking, people giving public address somewhere, and you relate that to the story that you have been given. Yes, that is a second way. Another way, this one is very interesting, from a movie that you have watched. I know you love watching movies. I want now those movies to be educative. You maybe have watched a program, you have a program that you love following. You love watching that action movie. You love the other types of movies. Even programs, TV programs, or even radio programs. Yeah, those are stories. Those are examples of storylines. They are examples of plots. And you can use them to put them into the given words. So from a movie, or from even a cartoon series that you love watching. Another way that you can create a storyline, remember I am still talking about being imaginative, is from a personal experience. Some of the things that we experience as we go on our day-to-day life. Maybe you experience something one day, you are very late for school, those who walk to school, and maybe you had a very unpleasant encounter at school. And probably the story ends like this. That was a day I will never forget for a long time. Yeah, from your own personal experience. We have very many personal experiences, even as children. And these ones mostly are the best to write about because they come from our own thoughts, from our own thinking, and we even have emotions about them. So we can bring them into a story that we have been told to write about. Yes, from personal experiences. So look, we are now at number 4, how you can come up with great, interesting story ideas. We have said from a story that you have read. I've talked of stories you've read from books, from newspapers, from magazines, and others. Listening to stories. Yeah, you have listened to stories told by other people or even told to you from a movie or a cartoon series that you have watched, or even TV programs, from your own personal experiences. And here I can also add from other people's experiences. You have heard people talk about what they have gone through in life, what they have done in life. You can bring that into your storyline, and it will create a great, interesting story idea. The other one, you can create a great story idea from your best interests. What do I like best? Maybe you can make a list of what you like best. For example, I love sports, like football, swimming, basketball. I love athletics. And maybe you could bring that into this story. I had eagerly waited for the day. I woke up excitedly. I woke up excitedly. Think about your best interests. What do I like best? Maybe I love cooking. Like this time that we are at home is the best time to find your best interests. Yeah, what do I love? Do I love adventure? Maybe I love walking. Maybe in a forest. I woke up excitedly. I was going to discover something in the forest. What do I like best? You could think just before you write. That is in number 2. You remember time management, number 2? Think of the story that you are going to write about, and you'd make a guideline from that, or a plan. So these are the 5 ways that you can come up with great story ideas to improve your imagination. From a story you have read, from a story that you have listened to, that is a story told to you by someone else, from a movie, cartoon series, TV programs, radio programs, and even songs. You can come up with a story from a song. All those songs are types of plots. From your own personal experiences, or even other people's experiences, and also from your best interests. These are some of the ways that you can come up with good imaginative stories. Now you already have your storyline. We are still on imagination. You have your storyline. That was step number 2. Step number 3. We are developing our stories now. Yes. Okay, step number 3. Once you have the storyline, you can now develop ideas in order to have a complete story. You develop ideas so that you don't reach at a place that you are in paragraph 3 and you have nothing to write about. You will ask yourself 5 questions that I'm going to write on the board. 1. What happened? 2. Who is involved? 3. When did these things happen? Why did they happen? Where did they happen? What happened? Who was involved? When did these things happen? Why did they happen? Where did they happen? Where did all these events take place? And one more. How did they happen? So in step number 3, we use a rule that we call the rule of the 5 W's and 1 H. The rule of the 5 W's and 1 H. Look at the 5 W's. What will give you the topic? Who will give you the characters? When will give you the time? Why will give you the narration of the story? Where will give you the place or the setting? How you will now narrate how all whatever you have took place. The rule of the 5 W's and 1 H. Are we together? I now ask if you have any question concerning what we have talked about. Yes, I have a question here. In KCP composition writing, when you write the plan at the back of your paper, will the teacher deduct the marks? My answer is no. There will be no deduction of marks after writing the plan at the back of your paper. I've said this, when you write the plan, make sure you cross. You'll just put a straight line. You cross. That one will not be marked. It will only help you to write the story and give you the ideas. So no mark is deducted. Morning, teacher. I am Joy from Nairobi. Is it correct to write a topic when given a continuation in a composition? A very good question about the title. Yeah, or rather she's calling it the topic. Is it correct? Now, one, writing a title is not wrong, but make sure that the title is relevant to the topic that you have been given. You have written it in capital letters and you have underlined it. I hope I'm clear. There is nothing wrong when you write a title of a composition. I am enjoying your lesson. It is Joy from Kiajokoma. Thank you. My name is Rachel from Utawala. If I write a story which seems to be the same with a storybook, but with different phrases and different tenses, will the teachers deduct my marks? No, the teachers will not deduct your marks. In fact, you have used this idea that you have written a story from a story that you have read. Yes, she has said she has changed the characters. She has used her own phrases, so no mark will be deducted. In fact, you will be awarded marks for being an imaginative writer. Thank you for that. Teacher, is it prohibited to use abbreviations in composition? This is Hope. Do not use abbreviations. If you are writing NGO, just write it as it is, non-governmental organization. Hello, Teacher Zippy. I am Viona from Nyeri. If you have a started composition, is it right to give it a heading or title? I think I have answered that. There is nothing wrong in giving a title. But even if you don't give a title, there is still nothing wrong giving or not giving a title. But if you give a title, make sure you have the three that I have said. It has to be relevant. That is, it has to relate to the topic that you are given, written in capital letters, and short. It should not be too long. I hope I've answered your question. And I've not talked about relevance. I'll talk about it another time. Hi, teacher. I am Damaris. Is it allowed to use more than one question mark in English or composition? Damaris, I didn't get that. Maybe you can type it in a better way. Good morning, teacher. I am enjoying your lesson. Repeat on relevancy. I have not talked about relevancy. I hope I'll come to talk about it once again. Hi, I am Whitney from Embu County. If you forget to put a diagonal line on your plan, can you lose your marks? Please do not forget to put the diagonal line. Make sure you cross. Immediately you write, you cross. What are the key words? Alice from Mwango, from Joska. Alice, I am coming again to talk about relevance. I will talk about the key words that time. Hi teacher, I am Sheila from Kitale. My question is, should I give a started composition a heading? That question is rampant. I think my time is running out, but I've said you make sure that your title, or rather your heading, is relevant to what you have been given. You have written it, make sure that it is short and you have underlined it. Yeah, I still have the same question. I am Joy from Nairobi. Is it correct to write a topic when given a continuation? I said it. Hi teacher, it is Stacy. I'm asking, in composition writing, should we use people's names or should we make name from people's deeds? Yes, it is not wrong to use people's names. We have talked about characters. Yes, these characters. When I talk about fluency next time, I'll teach you how to use the characters in your composition and also how to name them. I hope KUTV will give me another chance to talk about it. Hello, I am Victor. Can a pictorial composition really be tested? Okay, this one I'll say that in the last very many years, we have not had a pictorial composition tested, but it is one of the areas in the primary English syllabus. That is why I listed them here, and I decided to talk on the guided or the directed composition. But it is one of the areas that is taught in the English syllabus. Mostly you'll find it in class 4 and class 5. But we have not had it tested, but it is good that you know it. Hello, Mwalim. I like your lesson. A complete composition should contain how many words? Now, I didn't talk about the words, but we talk about the length of the composition. Suppose this is your A4. So the composition starts slightly here. So at least make sure that your composition goes to this place. At least 2 pages. That is the standard. That is the standard length of the composition. This is Bryson from Eldoret. Is it a must for a composition to have proverbs? Well, that one depends on how you are using the proverbs or how you'll use the proverbs. Remember, you cannot just put any proverb. It has to be relevant. When I talk about fluency, we shall talk about it. But it is one of the ways of writing an interesting composition. I have so many questions, and I think I'll ask KUTV to give me another chance to teach this lesson, because I still have to talk about relevance, fluency, and accuracy. For this time, I am happy to have you learners in the lesson, and my time is up. I hope you have enjoyed the lesson. Yes, I've said I teach at Nyeri. My name is Zipporah. I also do writing of books. I also coach young learners to write their own books and publish them. I am an associate of a book club that is called Maple Book Club, that we teach on Zoom classes on Saturdays and any day of the week. So thank you for this lesson. I only urge you to stay safe. Don't forget your bookwork, even if we are out at home. Thank you. See you later.